Wait, when it's too good to be true, it usually is. So that was the first mistake. What were you doing even entertaining a woman like that? Because
that's the question.
I will tell you one thing. If I am 56 coming to 57 and a 19-year-old woman out of nowhere, I'm just in the gym, and a 19-year-old woman just comes up to me and starts talking to me, I'm looking around. Where's the cameras at? Where, are you pranking me, motherfucker, or what? Alrighty then. Are you ready to fumble? Oh man, I'm seeing a lot of people fumbling. Fumbleinas, buddy.
Fumbleinas, fumbling the bag, fumbling.
Damn it.
Lots of fumbles actually that we've seen recently.
This week alone?
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, again, this is why we always preach to men, you got to always be on point. Doesn't matter what position you're in. It starts from today. You start having the right principles, right attitude towards life, and you can avoid certain issues, right? You can avoid certain things, but sometimes you could do all the right things, and sometimes that's just how the cards are dealt, right? Like, you can do all the right things and you still end up in a bad situation. So I do want to say that nobody's perfect. Nobody is foolproof. And yes, we all learn from our mistakes, but there are ways to avoid certain mistakes. And we do got to practice caution.
100%. But before we get to the major event, let's talk about Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders.
So let's get into the backstory.
Let's get into that.
Obviously, this is not a sports podcast, but we got to talk about something that's been pretty big. Because we talked about Travis Hunter. If those that listen to social media and stuff, he was in the news recently, a lot actually, in media. He went viral because his girlfriend, obviously he had issues with his girlfriend. He wanted to marry his girlfriend that he came up with in high school.
Mm-hmm.
But
high school sweetheart,
but there's a lot of stories basically saying that she was a
party girl.
Gold digger.
She was a party girl, gold digger.
Biggest thing was that she's a gold digger.
Yes.
I think that was the big thing, and that she wasn't truly with Travis Hunter because of his because of who he was, but
what he can bring in.
Yeah, not because of who he was, but what he can bring in, obviously. And now we found out that he was the number 2 pick in the NFL draft. So that means you're going to make a lot of money coming out the gate.
So she definitely chose right.
And he was projected to get that. And she was at the draft ceremony too.
She was.
But their level of viral, like their viral capabilities have disappeared, it seems. Like I don't hear any story of Travis Hunter and his woman anymore.
I will tell you this much. I think he's staying away from the limelight. She's also staying away from the limelight. I think that they've realized the more that they speak on the issues that the comment sections or commentaries are coming in, the harder it is to defend it, and the more easier it is to be dissected and picked off, and basically just dragging you through the dirt. You know what I mean? So I think they decided, all right, we're gonna stay off social media. Mm-hmm. We're gonna privatize private most of our things that we're doing on social media, and then we'll go from there.
Do you think the theory is true that if you ignore, because people sometimes say if you ignore comments, you ignore what's being said about you or what's being put there about you, you can kind of avoid having to go through that news cycle, because it's just a news cycle when it comes to being viral, having a viral video, having some controversy come out on your name. Do you think you have to address all these different things that may come out on your name, whether it's to smear your name or someone's coming after you, or to address certain things? Because a lot of the times when you're in the celebrity land, and we call this fantasy world, when you're in that lane, a lot of shit's going to come out on you, especially if you somehow become popular online or wherever else you get popular. Usually this is online through social media. You're going to have a lot of people criticizing you if a bad story comes out about you. But do you think that these stories will eventually disappear if you just stop talking about them? The reason why I say this is because a lot of people that I've seen get canceled or threatened to be canceled, whether it's through social media or their job or whatever the case may be, I notice when they stop talking about it or they stop putting focus on it, people eventually just forget. And I'll talk about lots of people, from the Kyrie Irvings to the Kanye West to the, you have a long list of people that have been through media scrutiny. And I noticed once they calm down in terms of responding and trying to, cover their ass on whatever it is they said or whatever it is that's going on, I think it always gets swept under the rug.
I think the more you try to defend points that are against you, the more you dig yourself into a deeper grave.
Yeah.
So it's always your best bet for situations that has to do with damage control is just staying silent.
Okay.
You definitely fade into the background because there's constant news cycles that are constantly coming up where you begin to become irrelevant to the general public just because they're trying to keep up with everything else that's going on.
Okay.
Right? And for example, so Travis Hunter, his whole story, that disappeared. Now the story right now is about Shedeur Sanders, and
which is his teammate.
Yep. And he was projected to be drafted in the first round, possibly top 5.
Yeah.
And he got shafted because the actual player, Shedeur Sanders, his father is a legendary football player by the name of Deion Sanders. And he has so much accolades that he's gained in his time in the NFL, and he taught his son to be just as good, but in a different position. But nonetheless, he got a lot of news coverage for how good his son was. But I think with the level of arrogance that Deion Sanders, a.k.a. Primetime, had or still has, and that bravado, I think it rubbed a lot of the NFL owners the wrong way, as well as the commissioner. So I think they did a collaboration and they conspired to make sure that Shedeur Sanders would not get picked in the top 5, nor the first round, nor the second round, nor the third round, but in the 4th round. And to put the cherry on top, to really nail you in the coffin, guess where he got drafted to?
The Cleveland
Browns. Wow.
Yeah, the not the best franchise to go to.
One of the worst.
It's kind of funny when you talk about like scrutiny and people conspiring, whether it's a company or organization like the NFL. Yeah, it was very strange to me because obviously the son had so much, and the reason why we're talking about this because these are young black men we're talking about, and a black family to be quite specific. So it is alarming to see a successful black family that, came from humble beginnings, at least Deion. Deion now makes it to the NFL. He makes a lot of money from his run in the NFL. Makes himself into a legendary player, one of the best players ever to play. Yes. He's in that conversation. And then on top of it, he grows this black family. He has his sons. He trains them, puts them in school. This is a God-fearing man too. So again, all the qualities that people look up to in a well-to-do man, right, would be like, good principles, good morals, taking care of their kids, being involved in their kids' lives. So everything points to positivity. And Deion, his personality might have, I guess it might show a lot of
I think it rubs people the wrong way.
The thing about Deion, he's unapologetic, and the problem with Deion is that he was very successful in his career, but his personality it seemed to be very brash and arrogant. But again, he did get the results that matched the personality, so he got away with having that type of personality, which is right. If you put in the work and you're that guy, I believe you should be able to have that type of personality, and some will call it arrogance. I will call it confidence, because if you back it up, it's confidence. If you can't back it up, it's arrogance. Now, he backed up everything he said, but his son is not him. So now when it comes to getting to the league, it seems that all the vendettas that maybe owners had previously with Deion, his father, or just the way he operates, because he follows his own way. He's not a follower, he's a leader. So he leads his own path. And I think a lot of people don't like that. And he led his son to the NFL because his son played on his college team. He was the coach, his son's the player. So They do all this effort and try and embarrass the family. They make him a mediocre 4th-round pick. Now, it doesn't matter where he got picked per se, because obviously if the talent's there, the talent will transcend and talent will show. So the mistake will be seen afterwards, and people will say, see, I knew they were conspiring. That's if he progresses if he shows up and does what he needs to do. But I did find it interesting, because a lot of the times, especially as black men, we are always told to like be respectful, and when we come into this place, act like this and act like that, and don't be too brash or don't be too loud, especially with hairstyles, dress code, all these different things that make us who we are. So my question is, if you're a person with high levels of confidence and you have the work and the track record to back it up, or I should say you have a son this way, or you're trying to build up your son to have this type of confidence and this type of attitude, would you, knowing that, say, for example, in this case, his Shador Sanders got penalized because of maybe all of that flashiness and all that, bravado that came with him, do you believe that you would try and suppress your son if he showed those type of traits of like extra confidence and like very sure-footed? Or would you suppress your child and say, hey, look, listen, guys, we got to follow the status quo. We got to be like everyone else. We got to fit in first, then we start to develop our personality. But if we ostracize ourselves from the group, we won't be able to get into the group. And what's your thoughts on that?
I think for me personally, especially for children, they need as much confidence as they can get. So if that means being brash and being arrogant, but still doing the work, still having the work ethic, because it doesn't make sense if you don't have the work ethic to back it up.
Yeah.
If you're doing the work, you got the work ethic, and then you're showing bravado, you're showing confidence, you're showing competency, I believe you deserve the opportunity and the chance to be who you want to be. Because if that's what helps you get to the next level, then what's the problem? What's the issue that I can't see no issue with that.
So the issue, what would come in his case, would be that you're going to work for a different organization. You're not owning the company. You're not an owner of the company. You're an employee of a company. So would that statement still hold strong if your kid was going to go work for a company?
I think in order for you to be a leader, even in a company standpoint, you need to bring something different. You can't come in as a drone, as a yes sir, yes ma'am type of guy. That does not take you beyond being mediocre. So you do have to go against the grain to a certain extent in order for you to be seen. If you're not going to do anything to be seen, again, you're just going to have a short shelf life. You won't be anything worth noting. You got to you got to leave your footprint. People need to know you're there. You need to be large, right? And that goes for any type of situation you're in. I think if you're trying to make a name for yourself, you can't be so quiet. I know some people go about it different ways. There's different methods for how people get to where they need to get to, right? But then there's, I don't believe a person's personality, as long as they're still being respectful, they're doing what they need to do to get to the next level. But you're going to see some bravado. You're going to see some bold moves. You're going to see some audacity. That shouldn't be something to be insecure about, because I feel like people that attack a person's character like that is more out of insecurity rather than them not necessarily liking what they produce.
Okay, so let's put it in this perspective. You run a company, right? You're the owner of a company, and you're hiring workers. Do you want them to follow a standard, or do you want them to do things outside of that standard? Like, for example, if the standard is, you come in, you do your work, you have your friendly conversations, Nothing too special. You don't, no big characters, no larger than life people. We just work as a team and we get things done. People have this in like sports teams. Coaches just want players that are going to buy into the system. They don't want the extras that come with that, right? And you can be successful without having the extras, and you can be successful with having the extras. But my thing is, I understand people have different tolerance levels when it comes to what they're willing to deal with and what they're not willing to deal with. So if it comes to you, and you might have the personality that exudes confidence and those type of things, right? Now, if you have those type of traits, and now you see someone else coming in with those traits, and they look highly ambitious and they look like they're gonna shake things up, would you invite that to a place of where you're operating the system? Like, would you want people, a bunch of mavericks coming in and maybe changing the culture or changing what's going on, or would you put a stop in it?
That is a really good question. I personally would invite that type of maverick into the fold, just because I know what happens to companies. They start to become stagnant over time.
Yeah.
They get comfortable. They become complacent. They don't end up growing. So you always need that fresh, young bull that comes in there, really shakes up the whole atmosphere, really gives everybody something to work for, pushing the team, really bringing that zeal, that zest, that passion. You know what I mean? Those guys, I would love to cultivate those type of guys in the company. But now if they're going far left and it's no longer about the company and it's about themselves, see, this is where I would draw the line. I draw the line where it's no longer about the organization and it's about yourself and it's about your ego and how you look. And like when narcissism starts to play a role into how things work in your world, and you start becoming a diva and you won't do this, and you start
but again,
I would say, like, if you start demanding certain things but you're not producing, now I might have to snip those wings one at a time.
But isn't perception everything? So if that's the perception you get, you wouldn't wait until it falls apart, would you?
No.
So with Shander's situation, if other teams have perceived them to be a problem in the future, do you agree that they're valid in not choosing him, or do you think that it's still a conspired effort for them to not choose him?
Well, according to what the news outlets have been saying, he should have never been drafted so far. Yeah. But I'm not exactly sure how he is as a...
No troubles, no legal, no nothing of that nature. Women, legal,
good
kid, good grades, no... Nothing of concern outside of football.
I'm taking the chance.
Nothing of concern. Only personality.
Yeah, I'm taking
only lineage. Only upbringing. But again, the father successful to this day. Yeah. Even if you look at it, right? So college coach making millions, still very successful, still very involved in his kid's life. So I just look at examples, obviously. If your father is of that ilk, I'm assuming the son is gonna have remnants of that. And he may not, and it may not even be as talented, but at the very least, at least he's been there, done that. Like he's seen the limelight. That's not going to affect his play as it would affect someone that came straight off the hood, right? To get $1 million contract. He already has millions. He already lived in a mansion his whole life. So some people look at those people as entitled, but sometimes I look at it, it's like, this is made for that person because of the circumstances they came out of. Because his dad was a legend, because he was trained by his father as well, and because he understands that football to him he can play freely because it's not his livelihood's not dependent on it. So sometimes that could elevate you, sometimes it could take away from your game. So I think that was the whole thing with me. I know it seemed like it was a conspiracy and everything of that nature, just to embarrass the name, like to make him feel embarrassed. I think the talent was there. So we'll see how that plays out. But I do want to talk about perception, because perception can be a deadly thing if you have the wrong perception about you. And a guy that I thought had one of the best perceptions in terms of relationships and how to not get into trouble in relationships would have been my guy, Shannon Sharpe.
That was a beautiful segue. That was a Beautiful transition. You don't usually do too many transitions, but today
That's it.
you nailed it on the
Yeah,
head.
so Shannon
Shannon
Sharpe,
Sharpe.
my guy, your guy, this is a guy we've been watching more recently. Obviously, he was on Undisputed with
Undisputed.
Skip Bayless,
Yep.
the most famous show he was on. He's obviously a former football player, got 3 Super Bowl rings. I think
He was a sports commentator as well
sports
prior.
commentator. He's done a lot of jobs.
Hall
right?
of Famer.
But let's just go with Hall of Famer, 3-time Super Bowl winner, and media pundit that's been very successful. After media, he's actually started a podcast, which is also ultra successful, and we've seen his growth. And pretty much he's a staple in the Black community, I would say.
You got to name the podcast. You got Club Shay Shay,
and Nightcap. Those are the 2 podcasts he has. One's with Club Shay Shay's where he's interviewing multiple celebrities, and then Nightcap is when they're discussing sports that happened the previous day, or they just talk about certain topics that are a little bit controversial. Relationships, sex, all the different stuff that men or women have to deal with. That's what he talks about.
Plus, you never mentioned his co-host. His co-host is Ochocinco. He's also a former NFL player, played for the Bengals. And let's get back to it.
Yeah, and let's get back to it. So, very successful man, and he's never been married, with 3 children. He's about age 56.
He's even the grandfather. Let's mention that.
Yeah, he's a grandfather as well. So this is a grown-ass man. This is not a child. This is a guy that's been through the ringer. Being a football player, he's been around many chicks. Being a media pundit, he's been around many women. He says he's had a lot of relationships with women. Sometimes he even brags about his little escapades he's doing, right? So, Unc.
A little something.
We got to talk, Unc. What's going on with you, boy?
Like, get mad at, and you're just going to hang up on me, so I feel like...
I'm not going to hang up on you. Here's what it is.
What does that even mean?
Nothing yet. You want to be a dick to me now, so...
I don't want to be... Don't manipulate me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm going to choke the out of you when I see you.
Jeez.
Thank you.
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
Anything I say, you're just going to, like, get mad at, and you're just going to hang up on me, so I feel like...
All right.
There we go.
There we go. Well, let's give a backstory on that.
I'll give the backstory quickly on this. So, speaking of Unc, Shannon Sharpe, he's obviously been accused. If you've been living under a rock, you have not heard of this, but he's being sued for $50 million for a rape charge. That's basically being alleged by this woman under the name of Gabby, which is an OnlyFans model as well. And at the time, she was 19 years old when Shannon Sharpe had sexual relations with this woman. Anyways, the story comes out.
I did not have sexual relationships with this woman.
Yes. Bill Clinton special. Now, Shannon Sharpe has came out, denied the claims of obviously sexual harassment or assault or battery. He claims that everything's consensual, and he's basically said that Tony Busby, basically an ambulance chaser lawyer, which he described, is trying to chase basically successful black men and target them in an attempt to shake them down, because he had done this to Jay-Z. So Jay-Z had a lawsuit that his name was brought up in, and that was basically with him sleeping with an underage woman years ago. Jay-Z obviously defended these claims publicly, and then that got closed. Now the latest victim is Shannon Sharpe, and he's in a scenario where $50 million is the number that she wants to sue for. Here's the catch. They did say that Shannon Sharpe had already offered $10 million for no information to be spread about this. And let's keep things in mind. He's a 56-year-old man. It's a 19-year-old woman. Another factor we have to put into play. Shannon Sharpe obviously is a millionaire. I don't know what the girl's net worth is. Shannon Sharpe's also famous. I don't know who that woman is, if she has fame or anything like that. So let's just put in perspective of the power dynamic and what level Shannon Sharpe is at and what level this woman's at. So she's wanting $50 million for the damages. And then the audio we just heard was of a leaked audio between Shannon and the woman where it shows that Shannon's a bit aggressive. Of course, it talks about him choking the shit out of her. She doesn't like that. She's talking about manipulation. All dangerous words when it comes to a lawsuit because all can be used against you in court. But what wasn't said in the video was text messages that got released. But I don't want to get into all those details just yet. The lawsuit comes out. Shannon Sharpe's accused of rape. What's your first initial thoughts?
Well, my first initial thought, because I'm such a huge fan of Shannon Sharpe, I flatly denied it. I said, "There's no way that he did this." I couldn't believe it because, first of all, he had everything going for him at this point in time. He just signed with, so he left Undisputed, which was with Skip Bayless. He didn't feel like he was being respected. He wasn't getting what he deserved. He felt like, Skip Bayless was kind of, just treating him disrespectfully. So he left. Stephen A. Smith, who's another TV entertainer, analyst for ESPN, brings him in to First Take. He goes there, gets a deal with First Take, which is ran by Disney because Disney bought ESPN. He goes there, he does his thing. He has Club Shay Shay, which is his own independent podcast, and he has Nightcap, as we mentioned. He ends up going there. First thing that comes out before all this started was the sex tape.
He had a sex tape release a couple months ago.
He had a sex tape release a couple months ago. He's really huffing and puffing, and he's saying some words. Wow.
Well, sex tape audio, let's say that.
Yeah.
It was an audio of as FaceTime, but the FaceTime wasn't recording nothing, but you can hear that he's in the middle of a sexual act.
Yes. So he does all of that. No one really says too much about it. They're really cheering him on. It is what it is. He actually played into it.
Yes, he definitely
started making T-shirts. He was making merch.
Yeah, and I think you're selling pills to like the sex pills.
Yeah, sex pills.
To help you
That's what I'm saying. He actually jumped on the bandwagon. Started
great businessman.
Great businessman. Played into it. Made all these different products for it, selling those. And then, so ESPN didn't say anything about that. That was his first transgression. Everyone's like, yeah, you know what? That's
he's
fine.
a healthy man.
Yeah, he's healthy.
He's single.
He's still, for an old bull, he's still got it going on.
He's still got it going on.
So everyone's like, all right, that's cool.
Well, you don't get penalized for having sex with somebody.
Exactly. So they just said, you know what? Maybe they went to him, hey, Shannon, keep that behind the scenes.
Yeah, keep your private stuff private.
Take it easy, my friend. Tranquilo, papi.
Papi,
okay?
take it easy.
Tranquilo. Right? And he was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna calm down, okay? I'm gonna calm down. And then little did we know he was still up to these escapades.
Yeah, he's still up to the shit.
He's still up to the shenanigans, doing his little double dealing, messing with these young females.
Yeah.
And
he got himself a young Betty.
Yeah, he found himself a little young thing.
Little young thing, yeah. Little college, little junior college.
Junior college. Speaking of that, I'm going to go into that because, CGA, man, you've been giving us that type of advice, go to junior college.
I don't know about that.
I don't know about that no more. You know what I mean? So I'm going to talk on that. But so he went to junior college, found a little young thing in the gym, actually, in LA. They've been having a lot of encounters, a lot of sexual encounters. It was consensual. There's a transcript that actually shows the back and forth sexing, and what was going on over there, what was being said. They were race playing. For people that don't know,
there was a lot of
there's a lot going on.
They're definitely doing race play. Explain that to
people. So race play is when you get turned on by messing with a different ethnicity, but you're basically reenacting scenarios that wouldn't necessarily happen in real life, or maybe even it could be even historical facts. They'll try and react and replay certain scenarios.
Yeah.
So let's say if you were so for him, when we're talking about Shannon, he's the big black guy and she's the small innocent white girl.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that's
He's coming to ravish.
he's coming to ravish the innocent white girl, and
like-
he's just a big black beastly man.
Yeah, she even mentioned one of the transcripts she wanted him to impregnate her with a big black baby.
There he goes. There we
And
go.
people found offense to that. I seen a podcast was talking about that, and they're like, see, you black men be letting these girls get away with this.
Seriously.
And then one of the guys was like, big black baby, that's not really offensive. Like, Shannon's fucking big and black. Like, what else are they
what
gonna
is-
say?
yeah.
Like, it's like if she said the N-word,
I
that's
just
different.
didn't get that. I didn't get the big black baby. Like that was like a little. It just didn't make sense to me. Why would it's just a baby? But it's like I put a baby in me. But it's like big black. Like the emphasis of
She's a 19-year-old woman.
big black baby. That's supposed to turn them on.
This is a 19-year-old
That's a
woman.
little weird.
Keep that in mind. Yeah,
True,
keep that
true.
in mind.
But,
I've
you know,
heard
I'll tell you-
similar stuff that sounds stupid when they were played in a courtroom, right?
No, but
Like,
let me tell you
it's
something.
in your private message only between you and her.
But let me tell you something.
Uh-huh.
That in itself, that dialogue that they're going through,
Mm-hmm.
it tells me that you're not really used to messing with black guys in general. Just based off that statement. Because if you were frequently,
She's 19. Keep
Yeah.
that in mind.
yeah,
Like,
but still 19, you're
Okay,
very
so-
active. You're very active. You lose your virginity.
There you go,
A
buddy.
girl loses their virginity at 15, 16
you're
years
very
old.
active.
Buddy,
at
what are we
19.
doing?
So at 19 compared to 30, how much activity do you think would be
But
the difference?
Look, think about it. People lose their virginity.
I'm not
at
saying just because you're
15,
sexually
16.
active.
Yeah,
but how
so-
sexually active are you going to be at 16 to 19? It's only 3 years. So you're telling me in that small span, you're going to have a significant amount of people you've had sex with or interactions of sex? That still takes time.
Yeah, it does take time.
Unless you're a prostitute, that's different. If
Ah,
you're-
but for your whore.
if you're that's what I mean. If you're into sex work, she was doing OnlyFans. I don't know what she was doing on
There
her
we go.
OnlyFans.
Now we're talking.
But OnlyFans can
Now we're
be
talking.
just nudity, or it could
Yeah.
be you having sex with people. So
We don't know.
We can't make the assumption that you're 19 and clearly you've never been. Well, I don't expect you to be with so much people. I mean, let's put a number: 100 people by
No.
19. Like, I don't understand. Like, it's not going to be high. Let's just put it that way. So let's say she's inexperienced at 19. Let's not say she's experienced at 19, buddy. Because if you're telling me you're experienced at 19, that means you're having sex when you're underage. So hopefully all the guys you're having sex with were underage as well. Because now if you're sleeping with guys that are overage and you're young, well, all
Buddy,
bets
in
are
this
off.
world, with the sugar daddies,
Yeah, but if we're going off
these-
that, that's like a legal
these-
activity.
yeah.
I'm not gonna calculate everything that's illegal. I only can calculate things that are legal and are done with in good faith, not things that are like predators going after.
It's a different age
16.
now. We got the
Of
website. They can
course,
get in
of
contact
course.
with people that are sugar daddies, these sugar websites.
Yeah,
There's so much stuff, especially OF, OnlyFans.
but
a
that
lot of
doesn't
stuff
mean
going
that
down.
doesn't mean anything about your sexual activity. That just means you're on OnlyFans and you're posting. Doesn't mean you're actually sleeping with multiple people. It just means you're posting that you're sleeping with multiple people. Even a porn star. How much you think a porn star is very sexually active? Well, how much porn movies do you think they made with how many different actors? They can't possibly do it with 100 actors.
No, they said they usually go
Of
through.
course, this is what I'm
14,
trying to say.
15
So you might
rotation.
have the perception she's a big whore, but it's like I slept with 5 guys and did 100 scenes.
Yeah.
Am I that big of a whore? Like I slept with 5 guys. Most chicks you've been with slept with more than 5 guys and definitely did more than what I did. So that's why I said it is a little bit perception based. You're just perceiving, 19, you're sexually active. Nah, you're not that sexually active. You experimented, you had a little bit, but nothing crazy. I don't know 19-year-olds that were that crazy compared to at an older age. But anyways, point of the matter is, girl's a young girl. Shannon's an older guy. Well, now the question we have to ask is, why is a 56-year-old guy entertaining a 19-year-old woman? So I want you to answer this question in terms of age gap dating. We had an episode about age gap dating. Of course, we never incorporated what the standard was, like what age would be the standard of, in terms of an age gap dating, but we never said like an 18-year-old and an 80-year-old or something like that. We never think of those extremes. Now,
Yeah.
this one's pretty extreme. There's about, 36-year difference, 37?
Yeah, I thought it was about.
He's 50. He's coming 57. If she's 21,
I thought it was like 34 type of.
36, say for example. Let's just go 36, 35. 35 years difference. She's 19. He's 50 at the time, 54. What's your thoughts of just that relationship alone? Would you recommend this to somebody? Do you understand why he's in the troubles he is because of the age, or does this not make sense to you?
So this one's a tricky one because he didn't say that they were boyfriend and girlfriend. So let's rule that one out.
Yep.
He said there's been sexual encounters and multiple sexual encounters. My thing is, when you're that age, 35-year age gap, you're paying for it. That's my assumption, because I don't see how a woman that's 19 years old will have anything to do with a guy that's damn near 57 years old. It doesn't make sense to me unless that guy is willing to pay the piper.
Pay the piper.
So she either knows what he's worth, where she did research on him, or he's paying the piper. It's one of the two. So he was either a mark or, he was paying for it.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, he's now in a dilemma that he should have never been to. He should have never been in.
Well, the woman picked him up apparently from the gym.
But this is what I'm talking about. See, when it's too good to be true, it usually is. So that was the first mistake. What were you doing even entertaining a woman like that? Because
that's the question.
I will tell you one thing. If I am 56 coming to 57 and a 19-year-old woman out of nowhere, I'm just in the gym, and a 19-year-old woman just comes up to me and starts talking to me, I'm looking around. Where's the cameras at? Where, are you pranking me, motherfucker, or what?
But here's the thing,
I'm looking around, man. Ashton Kutcher come out.
You have to ask yourself this question. If he did this with this 19-year-old woman, don't you think he's been dating or sleeping with women in that age range?
Of course.
So the protection that he did with this woman is the same protection he's going to have with the other women.
Yes.
So, again, this is what I said. When it comes to a lawsuit, it doesn't matter if you protect yourself. It doesn't matter if you have everything done the correct way. Because when it comes to these type of things, especially with dealing with women, anyone can accuse you of something. Anyone can allege that you did this and you did that, right? How much cases have been dropped that we don't really hear about when someone accuses someone of this?
They do drop them, yeah.
Some of these cases get dropped, obviously, because there's not enough evidence. And
even Jonathan Major, when he had his case where, again, a white girl... He got out of it, right?
But he lost all his deals.
But lost his deals.
Disney
all
deal.
They need to do, see, that's the thing what a lot of people don't understand, especially black men don't understand. All it takes is for somebody to ruin your reputation. It doesn't even need to be true.
Especially for a black man.
Yeah, it doesn't even need to be true.
You.
Reputation means everything. Guard it with your life, because you never know if a woman is really vindictive, or if she just wants you to lose everything. All they got to do is attack your reputation, and everything that you've had crumbles right before you just because of one bad move you made.
Okay, but now that's the case, and people obviously know that these things happen to celebrities, like you getting shakedowns and trying to get money and all these different things that come with being a celebrity, having money, et cetera, et cetera. Now, moving forward with this podcast, obviously he wants to sign a deal with this podcast. Moving forward with just him working at ESPN, which I don't think is super significant. He's already doing good on his own. So whatever. If ESPN moves on, they move on.
That's cool.
He's created his own thing. Kudos to that.
I think he'll continue with that, to be fair.
So, but here's my thing. When it comes to this, because again, the lawsuit, do you think it affects him as much as it affects him because he works for ESPN, or because he's a popular media pundit? Like, he has his podcast and things going on.
Yeah.
But do you think this blew up because he works for ESPN?
I don't think so. Because they didn't really mention ESPN about this whole thing. I think it was more about, what it was about? What I think really raised an eyebrow for a lot of people. He was just in the midst of selling his podcast for $100 million.
Yes.
That was the big one. That was when it was like,
that was the big
wait,
thing.
yeah, hold
money
on.
now, yeah.
100 mil? That
And
lawyer looked and
50%.
said, "Excuse me, let me call my
We got a
client.
case.
Let me call my client.
But how about, but
Hey,
even,
Gabby,
yeah.
yeah, get this guy for 50 mil.
50 million.
I got you. Don't worry
I'll
about
take
it.
20.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. But here's the thing about it. Now when it comes to like again, say you as a guy, or when you see these relationships all the time, like sugar daddy relationships where older guys with the younger woman, like we've seen this and people have accepted it in society. I think everyone kind of accepts it. Even those that are
I've seen it multiple times.
ultra religious and
Yeah.
all these things. I think they kind of get it. They're like, you know what? This guy wants a companion. This woman's willing to offer it. Yes, she might have to do some sexual deeds and stuff like that, but it's transactional. You know, he pays for her time. She will choose what she decides to give, and he'll choose if he wants to keep paying for that service. But we don't make a big deal out of it. And I did want to talk about Bill Belichick and his girlfriend, because with this situation, we're talking about age gap. I think the reason why it's a big story is because the girl's 19 compared to the girl being 30. Now, if she was 30 years old, everyone would argue that, you know, she knew what she was getting herself into, et cetera, et cetera. She's not that naive. But when you're 19, it seems more predatory, of course. Like, what are you doing? Chasing after, you know, girls that are just coming out of high school? Is that what your mentality is? So people tend to shift their focus when they're younger. But now, like I said, we see age gap dating all the time. Do you think that age gap dating on its own is a bad thing? Like, if someone was, because 56, I mean, you're near our dad's age.
He's a granddad for crying out loud.
He's a grandfather.
I mean, that tells you.
That tells you what
how
how
far.
old he is. But
Oh yeah.
you just live in a normal society, and you've seen this happen, age gap, what would your thoughts be? Is that something to be criticized? Is that something you go, hey, it is what it is? How do you view these type of things in dating? Because I noticed there's no real rules in dating.
So this is how I look at it. When I see a sugar daddy in the gym and he's with a younger woman, I internalize and try and process what's going on, right? And I'm thinking to myself, well, this young woman wouldn't just get with an older man if there wasn't perks in it. Because, I mean, just think about it. When you're a young man, how much times do women typically come and try and pick you up at the gym? Let's be for real.
None.
Right? You'll get your little one or two.
At the gym?
At the gym, I've gotten picked up more than once. But
Direct?
Yeah, directly. But it's indirect approach, not
Yeah,
like.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's not
Indirect is
direct. Not
different.
direct.
That's why I'm like, a
Yeah.
girl approaching you and asking for your
Yeah,
number?
okay. It's not gonna.
You're
it's
talking about 0%.
Yeah, it's a 0% chance in that sense.
Yeah.
But they'll come to you. very
Yes,
sly.
of course.
Oh, can you help
Come
me out
work
with
up
this
beside you.
machine?
Yes, they'll
And
throw
so on
out
and so
some
forth.
signals your way.
Yeah, or they'll start saying hi to you randomly. They don't even know you.
Yeah.
Start saying hi to you, and then eventually it becomes, can you help me with this or whatnot? Then you slowly get to know them. Then you guys start conversating, and so on and so forth. But the point of the matter is, if it takes that long for a young guy to get with a girl in the gym, what the heck do you think a guy that's 35 years her senior is going to have that she wants other than monetary gain?
Well, that's always what comes with age. It would be money that you're more
But
established.
this is what I'm saying. This has to
And
be
maturity.
This is not
And maturity.
But even maturity, you can go for a guy that's in their 30s. Why are you going all the way to 50, whatever, 56, 57?
Well, we never had a stopping point, obviously.
Yeah,
right?
there's no, but I'm just saying
there's no
that's
stopping
very
point in maturity.
unrealistic. It's very unrealistic.
Unrealistic that they go for you because of just maturity.
Just for maturity. That I don't
So
see
you
that
don't. So you
in
don't
society.
think women date older men because of maturity?
Nope. I do think they date older men for maturity's sake, but that would be a 10-year gap. That would be a 15-year gap. Not freaking
Not
35
So you're
year
saying
gap.
money has to be the key.
100%. It has to be
35-year
the
gap.
key. It has to. There's nothing else, because that guy How, like, I mean,
Yeah, you can't relate to them, nothing.
Not at all.
Unless you have daddy issues. That would be the next one.
That too, right?
Daddy
so that's
issues,
a rare case.
100%.
Yeah.
That's not a rare case.
Not a
That's
rare.
a common case.
Not a rare case, a common case. But the thing is, even with daddy issues,
money is still there.
Money,
though.
okay, yes.
But they're taking care of you,
Yes.
of course. But this daddy issues that you go
Yes.
that old.
Okay, yes.
Not to say that
Okay.
35-year-old's not doing as good as a 56-year-old.
But let me tell you where it gets crazy. They said that she picked him up.
Yeah,
If he went to go pursue her, that's a different story.
100%.
She went to pick him up. I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that she wanted him because he thought, this guy's chiseled.
No, she
He's
knew
a
what
big
she was
black
getting
man. Get
into.
up
But
outta here,
again,
man.
she
Get
was
outta
saying
here.
she wants him to put his baby gravy in there.
Yeah.
So she had her little plots of what she was trying to do.
Buddy,
Like,
she went on to Google.
Uh-huh.
She searched up Shannon Sharpe.
No, but
see what this guy was.
Yeah.
And said, this is a bag and a half.
No,
right
but the
here.
part I find funny is the sexting part, like the reveal of the sexting, like that revealed anything, dude. If you go back in my sexting fucking things in my phone, they look ridiculous. They look stupid.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, anytime you talk about sex, it's gonna sound stupid when it's replayed and other people have to hear what you got to say. Right?
That's quite embarrassing.
Like it's embarrassing. Like at the end of the day, you're saying shit that you typically wouldn't say, and you wouldn't expect people to be hearing it, right? So I found that kind of funny that,
that
like,
was
just
hilarious.
showing like the freaky side of
That
a
was
56-year-old. But hey, man, you're 56 still getting it in. Like I hope I'm like Shannon, man. I hope I don't get a charge like that at 56, but I hope I can slang that thing at his age because let me tell you, 56, I thought people that I see are washed up by 56.
Yeah.
This guy is still in shape, looks like a young stud at 57, 56, but again, unfortunately, the lack of dick discipline is where we land. And this is where we start and stop the conversation is dick discipline. And we've talked about this, but it seems that even as you get older, you still have to practice this. Because I guess me and you, when we're talking about younger men, like or men around our age. We're not even talking about men that are 60.
Yeah.
Like,
damn near 60,
you're thinking that they figured that out.
Buddy.
They understand
so
what's
I
going
think,
on.
So I think that's the worst part about the whole thing because
he failed us in terms as a role model.
He failed the general public, especially for the black youth.
Yeah.
He failed them because he goes on air and he talks about, he's throwing stones at people, especially like Anthony Edwards, talking about how he has 4 baby moms. He's only 23 years old. This young man can't keep it in his pants. Excuse me, sir?
Yeah.
You're talking about how he can't keep it in his pants?
Yeah.
What the heck are you doing? 34-year junior messing with women that are in their teens, not even in their 20s yet.
20s, yes.
Come on, man. You're on the same level of immaturity as Anthony Edwards, and we got to look at that because
especially
now,
with the track record of the audio and the messaging,
and
right?
now we
could have been cleaner on those.
Yes, and then we now got to look at, wait, so if he's doing that, now people are going to question every adult, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what's Stephen A. Smith doing?
What's this guy doing?
We never heard nothing from him.
So,
but he might be hiding something behind the scenes.
And even with Shannon Sharpe, he got accused by another woman he was with for like 10 years. I seen recently a second woman accusing him.
It's also a white woman, right?
White woman.
Yeah,
and the funny thing is they were accusing Shannon of only dating white women. And he always claimed, I have a black son, I have a black this and that. And it's pretty funny now that comes out.
Yeah.
That it's a white woman that he had these issues with. But do you think race plays a role in this as well? Her being white? Do you think if it was a black woman, it'd be totally different headlines?
I think he wouldn't get the same amount of headlines. A lot of the times when it's black on black, they don't really make it a big deal.
They let the black media cover
Yeah,
that?
they let the black media cover that, exactly. He'll get hung by his own people.
There you go.
But when it's a white girl situation, they can really spin it. You know what I mean? They're looking for a good story,
young,
right?
innocent, juvenile,
Yes.
naive.
There's a lot to say
This
about
guy,
that.
powerful,
Buddy,
big, black. Oh, God.
It's just quotables all day, buddy. Vocabulary.
The big black is what kills me.
Yeah,
that big black. Like,
yeah, that's very...
that's a very descriptive.
It's very descriptive, and it's also very... it's common in porn scenes. They'll say some
that's
stuff
what I'm saying, like BBC, big black,
yeah,
you know? Like
I'll
this
put
is
that big black,
in,
you know?
and
those
you
type
know
of-
exactly where it comes from. It comes
Yeah.
from like, all that stuff that we've been watching since we were young, and all the rhetorics you hear with black folks and stuff like that. So,
it's very much a fantasy for some white girls.
Oh yeah.
So when they start talking about the big black, I want that big black in me, and baby gravy and all that type of craziness.
That's the race play we're kind of getting towards, where it's like you're attracted to certain race because of certain things, and
even the whole thing. I want to be dominated. I want you to choke me. I want you to abuse me. I want you to tie me up. All that stuff is race play.
I wouldn't say that's race play. That's more.
That's dominatrix. That's some dominatrix stuff.
That's like SMS, SNM. I guess that there's a whole spectrum of like this sexuality and what people do.
You go really deep in the rabbit hole with that one.
So with choking and stuff like that, obviously that's like you like to deal with pain and stuff of that nature.
You like that sadistic type of,
masochist, like that type of
masochist.
Sorry, all those type of things that incorporate it. But again, you reserve the right to be kinky.
Yeah.
But again, when it comes out, then it looks a little crazy when you said, "Oh, you want me to tie you up and choke you?" Like, people don't know what context is coming in, right? So you do got to be careful with.
Well, they edit it. They edit the context in which.
Yes,
it's supposed
but
to be
honestly,
delivered.
they do say like, if you have the freaky mindset, like you better just pay for that, because like you don't want to be in a situation tying people up, handcuffing people, and the next thing you know, you're in a kidnapping charge or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, anything can happen. Like, oh, he tied me up and, left me in the room, and you open the door for me. He hog-tied me. I don't even know how to hog-tie. How can I hog-tie her? R. Kelly's favorite words. Oh, my God. Famous words from R. Kelly. Again, like, this is what I mean. Like, R. Kelly being in that situation where they said, he hogtied her. It's like, what are you doing tying up a girl that's significantly younger than you? Again, I think it's just practicing caution with these type of women. Like, you have to understand, okay, this girl's way younger than me. Let's keep things off the messages. Let's keep things off the phone. Let's keep things in person. Because if this does go south, I know exactly how I'm going to be perceived when this goes south. And he should have known, because he lives in America. Young white woman, big black guy.
The headlines.
What?
The headlines.
Are you joking? And you have money? They would love nothing better than to get rid of you. You're a menace. You're going after these young girls.
Crucify you,
You're going
buddy.
after our daughters. What's going on with you, Shannon?
Oh, yeah.
You're a grown-ass man. So the point of the matter is, sympathy won't be a big thing for him, right? People are just going to say, hey, you dug your grave. Now sit in it, right? Like you've done what you needed to do to put yourself in this position. Let's just say that, right?
Yeah.
You've crossed every boundary. Now that the girl's penalizing you for it, you're saying it's a shakedown. But truth be told, it was just a big mistake by you. And you have to pay the price that it costs, right? And that costs, obviously, already. I've heard so much videos of people talking about this, because everyone knows who Shannon Sharpe is.
Yep.
And on top of this, he's a podcaster. Mm-hmm. He's still going on with this podcast. He's not trying to miss a beat, which is smart, because this is what Skip Bayless did when he was accused of his situation as well. And I've noticed a lot of people that are accused of situations that have podcasts, they cannot afford to stop their podcast.
Okay, so he's still going.
No, because you cannot afford to.
Okay,
because you're making money off of it, and if you lose that momentum, you're toast.
And that's a private podcast. Like, it's his
that's
own
why I said. So for
individual-
podcasting, it's pretty tough, because even if people leave your podcast, you have troubles outside, you have to keep the podcast going. So you have to keep people informed, because once you stop informing the people, now they're going to buy into what's the media saying. So you got to continue to operate as if nothing has happened. Luckily, it's not criminal, so he's not going to be in a court of law. But it can turn criminal real quick if there's details that show, like, whether it's extortion or threats or whatever, because he could have, with the settlement fee, you never know if he sent the threatening text, right?
Yeah.
Hey, you don't put this down, I'm coming after you. Like, you don't know.
Well, I'm pretty sure at this point he's getting counseled by his lawyer, because she's gonna be heavily watched.
But even the counsel by the lawyer never helped him. He came out and did a whole statement, but it didn't really help him, because he's saying like it's a shakedown by Tony Busby, and he said he didn't do this stuff, but it came out. Like, you had a whole section. Like, of course, you never did what you said.
He tried to
be on top of it.
Yeah, he tried to beat him to it because
he's
said
an idiot. I'll tell you,
he's
because he
saying that-
thinks that guy's reputation people care about. They don't care about his reputation of him being a sleazy lawyer. They care about the fact that the girl's 19, little white girl. You're a big black guy. Done.
That's it.
Like,
That's the
optics
story.
is everything. That's the story. They don't care about the lawyer that's representing her. They're saying this woman claimed that you sexually assaulted her, you raped her, and all that came with it. So what is it? What happened here? Why did this happen? Why are you in this situation? They don't care about what lawyer is the guy that's spearheading this. They're caring about what's the scenario and how did you get in this place. But with that being said, of course, like I said, age gap dating is a huge thing in our society, especially as men get older, have money, and they're, say, widowed, like they don't have a wife or they never got married before. They dabble in the younger girls. I've seen this. I see this daily, and no one makes a huge deal out of it. I think people understand the dynamics. But you hearing this story, let's fast forward 20 years later. Do you think you'd ever be caught messing with somebody in that age range? Do you think that's crazy? Do you think that's something that you shouldn't do? Or do you think that he just is in a bad situation? Like, this is what happens with a lot of different people. People date women that are significantly younger and don't have to deal with these type of issues.
Well, for the future, I don't know where I'm going to be in terms of, am I going to be a celebrity or am I just going to be a regular?
Would you date a 19-year-old today?
Well, no.
Would you sleep with a 19-year-old today?
No.
So that's the question, right? If you leave that door open, I guess, is where
That's
you
when you
leave
get in
things
trouble.
open to like
Yes.
getting in trouble.
So-
Reason why you might not, and it's not that you don't want to. Again, want is a big thing. It's not that you don't want to, but you understand the consequences and how you're going to be perceived if something does go wrong. And that if is bigger than you may think.
Yes. So we are coming close to wrapping this up. But what I want to ask you is, when it comes to age gap dating, where do people tend to draw the line? Because I'm seeing a lot of people age gap dating.
Of course.
Right? We're
Of
seeing
course.
Leonardo DiCaprio. He's saying he doesn't date anybody older than 24.
Yeah.
Right?
He dumps them right when their 25th
Yeah,
birthday.
Yeah, on the 25th, and we've seen this multiple times,
And he keeps jumping
and he
boats.
keeps jumping boats, right? Belichick has a girlfriend that's like 25
24
or 24 years
and
old.
he's about in his
And he's-
70s.
Yeah,
80s.
so you got that. Then you hear other owners in the NFL, they have very young women
Yes.
by their side and so on and
Athletes
so forth.
known to like deal with
Athletes as
young
well.
women.
So the thing is, there is a level of age gap dating that is acceptable to the general
course.
public.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where do we draw the line of where age gap dating now becomes ridiculous? And what advice would you give to the general public for young black youth, black men that are pursuing some kind of career in entertainment, whether that's rapping, whether that's being a sports athlete, or being some kind of influencer on social media, or being a streamer? What advice would you give them if they're dabbling within that space of entertainment?
I think if you're in the space of entertainment, biggest thing is you need to get a lawyer. You need to get a lawyer to drop
On
a
retainer?
contract. Of course. If you're that famous, if you're Shannon Sharpe, you definitely need a lawyer on retainer because you're getting lawsuits left and right. And
Okay.
this is not his first lawsuit, it's just his biggest one. But even guys like, even when you're like smaller level, it just depends on, you can never be too cautious. That's the life lesson here. You can never be too cautious. Now, Shannon Sharpe was pretty cautious because he actually recorded the sexual act as a consensual video. That was his idea of a non-disclosure. If I have sex with you and I record it, and I told you I'm going to record it, it's a consensual act, as you can see in the video. So they're trying to make that and flip it and try to make it like, oh, no, it wasn't consensual. But he's like, no, I record all my sexual acts. So that was his
I even know he said that.
No, that's what he does.
Okay.
Like his thing is he records all the sexual. He told that to the woman.
Wow.
He records all the sexual acts.
So there's a video that says that.
To prove it was a consensual act.
Wow.
Not just to have sex and then you leave and then you say
That you
X,
great
Y,
me.
and Z happened. It's like, no. Here's the act. We have the whole sex tape. So he has like a sex tape. He records all his acts. So that's one way, recording things. Recording consent. Big one. Recording consent. Getting as much proof as possible. And then, of course, you can have a non-disclosure. But nothing better than just visually having the woman say, I agree to have sex and, you know, I'm here, I'm sober-minded, no one's coercing me, all those type of things. I mean, it doesn't sound ideal, but does it sound like you want to end up in a $50 million lawsuit without doing that? Like, I'd rather take that step than to deal with what comes after it. So I think you just have to have your legal shit up to date and together. And if you're older, like, I think this would more affect celebrities because I don't think, like, if you dealt with a young woman and being an older guy that has money, I don't think they're looking for that big payday. They're okay with just dealing with the lifestyle of you paying for stuff for them. So I don't think every chick's looking for that payday. But because he's so famous, because his podcast was going, making that $100 million deal coming soon, money was coming in. So they targeted him. But how about you yourself with men just dating younger women, just in that sense of things? Would you advise to it? If you do advise to it, what's your contingency plans if something gets out of hand, or to protect yourself from something getting out of hand?
I think I completely agree with what you were saying. I think you hit all the points that I would probably even discuss in terms of what you should do and how to go about when you're talking to younger women. Well, first of all, if you're 34, a woman senior, don't ever go into the teens. That's what I would say. I mean, make sure they're at least 23.
Well, let's look at a certain
onwards.
threshold. 15 years old, 15 years
15
plus.
should be like the that's like max. You know what I mean? Like,
But 15 is significant.
it is
significant.
very significant. So I mean,
35 and, like I said, like 19, like that's
Yes.
what it would be.
so I would say 15 is a good age gap, and yeah, just try and cover all your bases, honestly, because as much as you might have like a lot of feelings towards a woman and so on and so forth, in life in general, it's a business, right? And you never, don't count on the woman suing you. You have to count on the people that are behind that woman
pushing
that will be pushing that action to be done. Maybe she doesn't want to do it, but people can see an angle,
Yeah, like the
to
father,
get you, the
brother,
father, the brother,
friends.
the uncle, someone
Even friends.
close by,
Friends will message you, yo, he's a basketball player. Make
There we
sure
go.
you get him. Like,
There we
they
go.
will tell you these
Yes.
things. Like, they've caught people doing this.
So those are the things that you got to be aware of, and if you're not aware of it, unfortunately, you're gonna end up like a man named Shannon Sharpe.
Simple thing for me, like, if you want to really make it simple, buddy, you got money, pay that shit. Pay to play. Like,
Pay the piper, buddy.
Well, I think when you're at a certain degree, I mean, if you want me to break it down for you the easiest way, go pay for it. If you are established and you have the money, pay for what you want, especially if it's like a fantasy like that, like a 19-year-old. That's something that most people describe as a fantasy for a 56-year-old, correct? That wouldn't be a normal occurrence of you sleeping with them. So with that being said, guys, if you don't want to get into trouble and you happen to be famous and rich with a lot of money and you want to go after a 19-year-old, pay for that, brother.
And that's all we got for today on this podcast. This is Far From Normal Podcast, and we are out.
Deuces.